Happy Monday, everyone. Awesome to have you here. I hope you had a great weekend, and I've got an awesome guest with me today. And I'm going to pronounce her name wrong, but I'm going to give it a go anyway. We have Ines. I always get it
Ines.
wrong.
Ines.
Say Ines. Hopefully that's
No,
better.
Ines. So
Ines.
Ines is in Portuguese and Ines is in Spanish.
Ah, yes. I blame my wife for being Portuguese and her friend, being Portuguese as well. Okay, I
But
blame them. So apologies. Awesome to have you with us again today. So you were with us briefly yesterday, and we talked
yes,
about the hackathon, and we're gonna dig back into that. I really can't wait to hear how that's going. So everyone watching, don't forget to put your questions and comments in the chat below. Hopefully the audio and video is okay. I played with some settings, so hopefully that's good. And it's awesome. We have Jennifer with us from the States who got up at 5 a.m. to join the live stream. So it's awesome to
wow.
have Jennifer here as well. So please, introduce yourself again. I know you did an introduction yesterday, but do another one today for the new people that weren't here with us yesterday.
Yeah, sure. Well, my name is Ines. I'm from Costa Rica, and I used to work as a project manager in the charity sector up to last year. And that's when I decided that I wanted to do something different and challenging. And actually, I'd never coded before in my life, so I don't know how I made this decision, but I decided to join Flatiron. And yeah, I basically moved into tech then. But early on, I started looking for lots of organizations and, like women in tech support groups, which has been amazing, including women driven development. And yeah, and now I work as a node developer at the Travel Corporation. And I'm part of the connected learning team in this UK versus COVID hackathon.
Awesome. And we
That's
are going
fun.
to dig deeper into that hackathon. So I'm really excited to hear again about your project, about the tech you're using, challenges you've had. And I think, again, as always, you've haven't bigged yourself up enough. I see you at so many hackathons, events in London all the time. Not in the current lockdown situation, but prior to the lockdown, I see you at so many events. Google Next, Women Driven Development Hackathon at Expedia, I think is where we met, or Google, I can't remember. I see you at so many events, and it's great that you go and you take part and you contribute, and I think that's really important. So I think people watching, if you're nervous about going to an event or getting involved, now most events are virtual, I highly recommend getting involved and taking part, not just sitting back and watching from the sidelines. I think it's important to take part. I know I learn loads when I actually get involved and ask questions and so forth. And it is scary putting yourself out there. So, but definitely do it. Would you agree? What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. I was thinking about that, and I think it's really scary. Like some people only go when they have a friend to go with. I was more of the sort that if I found an event on Meetup or anywhere that I thought was interesting, then I would just go. But I also realized that I was part of a mentoring scheme during my master's, and the woman mentoring me was telling me like just go to an event and network. And I would go and I wouldn't speak to anybody and I wouldn't like approach anybody because I didn't know if my questions were smart enough or if people would be like interested in what I had to say. So she really challenged me in trying to like just go up and speak to people, just say, hey, how are you, can I what do you do? And that was the point where I started getting very comfortable with going by myself to events and actually getting something out of the event, because I feel that you get a lot more out of the event when you talk to the people that are there, even if it's only the attendees and not the presenters or the speakers. So yeah, so now I love it. Like it's still not easy. Like if I go somewhere and I don't have anybody that I've seen that familiar faces around, I still have to go and think like, okay, which group am I going to approach? Like which one, who am I going to speak to? And I just go and I'm like, hey, can I join you? And that's been really special. Now I see friendly faces in every event. And yeah, I don't know, it helps me keep motivated, being like a junior dev, let's say, in this sector.
I think you brought up a couple of really good points there that I want to highlight. I mean, loads of good points, but 2 points that really stick out for me. One is when you go to more events, you start recognizing people that you saw from previous events. So I think it's important for the first one, probably the most scariest, and it gets easier. One, because I guess we get more comfortable speaking to people we haven't met before, but also they start being more friendly faces and more familiar faces. So again, it gets easier very quickly. So yeah, I highly recommend people getting involved. And you mentioned junior dev, and I kind of starting to not like that expression because after
Yeah, I
15
don't.
years, I'm starting to feel like a junior dev. I'm always learning. So go on, you were going to say,
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah. I don't know. I feel like I don't like it either because it kind of puts you in a weird box. I guess it's just ingrained in your mind when you're looking for a job and everything. Like people are like, oh, is it like a junior, a mid-level, a senior? But I'm trying to get out of that framework because you're right. We're always learning, and I don't think that's why I wanted to move into tech. I love learning, and I just wanted a career that would always challenge me. And I think we'll always learn. Like there's always a new framework or a new tool or something that even senior developers need to learn how to use.
Absolutely, and that's the beauty of like I said, in being in our industry, it's always changing. We're always learning more. We're always collaborating with people and learning. And we're going to dig
Mm.
more into the hackathon side shortly. And I think, yeah, it's I don't know. I don't even refer to my. I think on my portfolio or my title. Let me have a look. I think I do put senior. Let me bring it up and have a quick look. And I'm starting to use that less and less. Let me see. No, so I even removed senior. I have open source developer advocate. I'm looking up because I'm looking at my big screen above, but
Yeah.
my shortcut keys aren't working. So yeah, I've even removed it from there because I think the more I learn, the more I realize how much I don't know. And as cheesy that sounds, that's really true. So I think we're just all like developers or designers or whatever we are, and I think that kind of pre-pended title doesn't add any value at all, really. I think yes, some people are more new to a certain tech, so I think
Mm.
if people are, like you said, looking for jobs and they say, well, what level are you at, you could say, well, I'm new to Java or Node or whatever it is,
Yeah.
or but to say junior, and some people think junior is only for the first year, and some people think you're a senior after 3 years. Some people think you're a senior after 10 years. And so, although we label it, everyone's
It's so
interpretation
confusing.
is
Yeah.
so different. I interview a lot of people, and I the term is kind of, I've heard so many people use it in so many different ways. I've heard people say, I'm a senior dev. I'm like, okay, how long have you been doing it for, etc. Again, how long you've been doing it for, you've got to take with a massive handful of salt as well. So I don't like that when people say I've got 5 years. Everyone's 5 years is very different. If they go to events and they
Mm.
go to hackathons, they're going to obviously go faster. So, but yeah, going back to what I was saying about the senior, I've had people say I'm a senior dev, and they say I've been doing it for like 2 years, and it's just like, really, okay. And then some people say, oh, I'm hoping to be a senior one day. I've only been doing it like 10 years. So it's really different, and so there isn't much value in the senior junior part. But I like the honesty when people kind of do say. That they're more new to it, but yeah, there isn't much value. I think we need to improve that. I don't have the answer. We'll work on it and we'll see. We'll definitely, it's something food for thought, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
And let's talk about the hackathon. I'm quite excited. I really wanted to ping you this morning and ask you how the hackathon was going, but I thought no, I will leave it for the stream. So I haven't caught up with you. For everyone watching, I haven't caught up on what's happened on the hackathon since yesterday's. But maybe we'll start at the beginning. So what is the hackathon about, and then what is your team building?
Um, well, the hackathon is trying to find solutions. I guess not for COVID, like we're not developing a vaccine, um, but it's more like solutions that problems that people are, or challenges that people are now facing because of this isolation and everything, the new measures that we have to abide with. So there's lots of teams, but I'm actually don't watch the other. I'll talk about ours. Um, ours was brought up by an organization that Let me get the name right so I don't screw up. It's called Maslaha. And they work with Muslim communities, and they have education projects. So they were seeing that parents were very overwhelmed by the amount of offer of education tools to use online during this isolation period. And a lot of parents are not like, their English is not their first language. They're not that they're not that savvy with technology. So it started to feel more like overwhelming and paralyzing. What do I do? How do I support my child? I don't know how to use these tools. So what we're trying to create is something very simple, like an easy user journey where parents can just sign up and ask what would be like a volunteer mentor, just a specific question, like, okay, I have a 6-year-old child that needs help in maths. Which tools can I use? And then that mentor would be the person in charge of either giving them straight answers or telling them these links will help you. These specific links will help you find an answer to your problem. So it's more about focusing on making it simpler for parents. Eventually, I don't think by today, but eventually then parents will also be able to ask in different languages, and then the volunteers will also have like little badges of the languages that they speak, because this is very focused on parents that have some challenges accessing sources in English as well. So we are also setting up an SMS part of the solution, so that if they don't have access to the internet, which is the case for many people, then they can just text to that number and say like, I need help with, again, reading or something for my 8-year-old. And then somebody can reply and say, why don't you do this? Why don't you read them every night, or have them, I don't know, assign a 1-hour reading time per day or something like that. So we're trying to focus on the simplicity and the accessibility of the app and the resources. I'm not sure all of this will get done by today, but we're all very happy to continue working on it.
Awesome. I mean, that sounds really good. And I think all the Tech for Good hackathons come out with such interesting projects. Actually, speaking to a friend of mine in the US this morning, and she was saying a hackathon she did last year in Paris continued off the hackathon and actually got funding and is now an NGO. And although she isn't involved in it anymore, that it has continued on. And it's a really nice feeling to know that, you know, the weekend and maybe a few weeks afterwards that they spent on it is actually turned into something that's still being pushed forward by, you know, maybe new people, but it's still being pushed forward, and you kind of you planted that seed and you started with it. So that's really exciting and really interesting. And yeah, if you don't finish it today, that's not the end of the world, right? Hackathons, we always we overestimate what we can achieve. It's like my weekend. I think, right, I'm going to do my office, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and yeah, you don't always achieve all of it, and you just keep, I guess, replanning with the team. So, and how big is your team? And then we're going to also look. I'm going to got GitHub up. We'll look at the repo shortly as well. So,
yeah. So actually, there's a lot of people in our Slack channel, but we're 11. We're 11 officially, like, working on it. So it's really nice. It's been very collaborative, and a lot of different skills. We've had somebody do amazing like wireframes of what we have to do, but like so quickly, and so yeah, I'm just impressed. And somebody doing the graphics for our website that are incredible. Like they're incredible. So yeah, it's been really, really nice.
Awesome. I can't wait to see it. I'll bring it up shortly. And what sort of tech are you using? Then we'll have a look in the tech as well.
Yeah, so for the backend, we're using Rails, and as I said before, it was more one of our team members said it would be really easy to do authentication and everything with a Rails gem called Device. And then, so it's 3 of us working in the backend, and I think like 4 working on the front end. And for the front end, we're using React, and for styling, semantic UI. So just have more of be able to deliver something prettier in a short amount of time.
Awesome.
But yeah.
And I think the great thing about it being 100% remote is people are continuously pushing to GitHub. Whereas I find at hackathons, when you're all co-located at one location, the pushing to GitHub seems to happen considerably later, or it doesn't even happen sometimes. It ends up, being a one person's machine, or they do one big commit at the end and it's like, here's all the code. Whereas everyone
Yeah.
being remote, I think trying to sync up with everybody, you have to keep pushing to GitHub. And I think that really, really helps for the open source side of it, for people to follow along. I think it's really important.
No, definitely. And we've also been just like reviewing pull requests. Nobody's reviewing their own pull requests and things, which it's just happened very organically, but it's been quite helpful to, as in a real job, to point out mistakes or errors.
That's awesome to hear, because usually at a hackathon, people are like, just push to master. If anything kind of breaks, we'll figure it out afterwards. So it's really good, because I think when you're going via a pull request at work or at a hackathon, whenever it is, I think it's not just about noticing mistakes, but it's also about being aware of what's coming in. So if you need to update your own work, so you get that knowledge transfer, I think that's really important, and it just creates that discussion point of people doing things a different way, which adds so much value. And I think that's really important to see how other people solve a problem. So yeah, everyone watching, I highly recommend always doing a pull request, even if it's just the other person's not doing a thorough review, it's more of just a scan, but that scan can add so much value. And in the future, if you say for example, a couple of hours later, you get stuck on something and you say, well, I'm changing this, but it doesn't work, it's not completely new to the other person, because they've already had a scan of your PR previously.
Definitely, that has been really helpful, because only one of us, Michelle, she works with Rails daily. And then the other two, we hadn't used it in a few months, well, almost a year. So we really had to like catch up like the first few hours, like trying to switch our brain from what we used to Ruby. So yeah, no, it was really great. And she was always like sending us articles or links where we could understand a little bit more what she was doing. So we're helping find a solution, but it's been a learning experience as well.
And that's the beauty of hackathon. I can't recommend people join a hackathon so much. I can't recommend anything more valuable. If anyone asks me for some resources online to learn X, Y, and Z, doesn't matter if it's Java, Kotlin, Node, Rails, just join a hackathon and join a team that's using the technology that you want to use, and it's the fastest way to learn. I think that's really important. So you mentioned technology, and that's really good. And you said you haven't used Rails for a year, and I think that's just, if I don't use something for like a month, I forget about it. So I think using something a year later is tough. But I'm sure you picked it up like riding a bike, right? You pick it up quite quickly.
Yeah.
You remember kind of how it was and so on. So shall we look at some code? You're gonna have to remind me the repo links, but let me.
Yes. Let's look at them. All right, so it's let me actually, let's go to so the backend would be /
Yep.
INESGS12.
Oh, I have this from yesterday, I think.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully everyone can read my screen.
Yes. Hopefully I can explain whatever we're going to see. We still don't have a README.
You still don't have a README. Did I raise an issue? I didn't. So you have a README, but you don't have, I guess.
Yeah, that's my to do. The first to do after this call.
Got you. Okay, because I guess you're going to put in the routes that the front end would need.
Yeah, exactly.
In the Rails app, where would I go to find the routes? I'm guessing API version 1. Is this where I'd find?
Yeah. Well, those are the controllers.
Okay. So I want to find kind of what the URIs would be. So like / I don't know, users / whatever.
You can go back.
Okay.
And if you go to DB, I think. I hope. No, those are the seats. Let's go
No
back
problem.
again.
If you can't remember, no problem. I haven't used a Rails app. Anyone in the chat, if they know where it usually
Oh,
would
it's in the
be,
config. Yeah.
loads of Rails
But it's
application.
not the same. You don't see it the same way as you
Oh,
would, let's say, on a Node application. So it's not as straightforward
got you.
to do
Okay.
those.
Okay, no problem. If anyone does do Ruby on Rails and wants to have a look, then yeah, have a look. This is the project, and it'll be good. Yes. So after this live stream, you'll add some documentation on routes that are
Yeah.
available. Because it'll be interesting to see what functionality is available on the routes, what the request and responses of the JSON, like what's required. So if you're, for example, creating a user, what do you have to send, and then what do you get back, and can you do various things. So awesome. But 89 commits, 9 branches, 3 contributors. Let's give a shout out to the 3 contributors. Got
Hold on.
Rebecca, yourself, and Michelle.
Michelle.
That's awesome. That's very, very
Can
cool.
you see the link I sent you?
I will check that out. No, I didn't see that yet. Is that going to be with the screenshots? Let me see. Oh, I haven't got anything that you sent me.
Hold on. Is that?
While you do that, I'm going to raise an issue. To everyone watching, this is how you contribute to open source projects. It's not just about committing code and making improvements. It's also about raising issues. As I always say in all my live streams, I want to say, README to include example request response for endpoints. There we go. So I want to
There,
create
I sent it
that.
to you on Slack.
Okay, I see it now. Okay, brilliant. Oh, awesome. So you have got some documentation. How did you create this?
Yeah, so we can't really like add members because we don't have Postman Pro. So
Okay.
it's just a link. So Michelle has just been doing this on her own Postman. But we can share it with everybody else with using the link.
This looks really good. So does she create it on the Postman's website? How does she
On
create
the app,
this?
yeah, you just download like your app, the app, and you can save all the links and all the endpoints and stuff.
Okay, this is awesome because it gives you an example, kind of curl example, which I think is really useful. It gives you the example response, because I get. If I pick a post, required fields, yeah, this looks really good. I haven't used this before, so this looks good. This is why I love hackathons, right? You get to see how oh, I've lost it now, but you get to see how other people are doing things and what tools they're using, and not just technology in terms of, oh, is Angular versus better than React, but in terms of actual tooling around building a real project. So I do like this. This is awesome. Registration, sign in, sign out.
Yeah, so that should really help us connect the front end with the back end, which we're not doing until today.
Okay.
So hopefully nothing will break. But, which it will, but hopefully we'll fix it in time. Which is another thing that I think is very interesting with hackathons. Like you learn so much, not just about coding, but as like planning and what to do next, because it's such a short period of time where you have to deliver. It's a lot less than a sprint would be at work. So like the first one that I attended was another women-driven development, Take It Forward with Pride at Expedia, and it was really good. And I chose a team that I wanted to help that cause, but I never asked anything about what languages they needed, what tools they were going to use, what the outcome of it was. And at the end, I felt that I couldn't contribute that much because my skills were not really matching the skills of what was needed for that specific cause. Whereas this time there was a sheet that actually for each project it would list like what technologies and languages use. It's easier to see like, okay, do I want to learn this or do I want to pitch in with something that I already know a little bit of? Yeah, and just now, for example, we have linked them together properly. until the last day. But it's a learning experience. So next time that I attend the hackathon, I'm gonna be like, okay, day one, we're gonna link them, even if it's just one endpoint that we're reaching. Um, but yeah, experience. It's really cool.
Absolutely, it's good to try out different things. I think one thing that over the years I've really learned is getting that steel thread going from beginning to end. So you're right, linking front end to the back end to CI and deploying out. So getting that deployment as well, even if the deployment only says hello world. But then as you've got that steel thread working, and as more API or more UI or whatever the features are added, that CI, even if CI is not running tests, right, because it's a hackathon, you're probably not going to write any tests, but at least it's doing the deployment, so it doesn't rely on one person to have the keys to CI to do the deployment, sorry, the keys to the server to do the deployment. I think it's important that it gets set up via CI, and it's quite quick to do now, especially with GitHub Actions. But then the beauty of that is whoever, once it's merged into master, it just deploys out, and therefore no one has to worry about, is that person on a break at the moment or are they actually working? That's one of the things I've learned. And it's not about getting it perfect, it's just good enough. I remember one hackathon, I wanted to get the whole pipeline part like so perfect that I spent most of the hackathon just setting all that up. And that was before a lot of the cloud providers existed and so forth. So now it is a lot easier. And I have shown on live streams that you can set up GitHub Actions kind of literally in under a minute. Just the commands that you would run locally, you just put them in steps in GitHub Actions, and then to the secret set tab on GitHub, you just add your deployment keys, and then it just kind of works. I think, yeah, GitHub Actions is definitely a game changer. It's going to be really interesting. But yeah, that steel thread, no matter what you do, no matter how thin it is, get it working from end to end, so there's no surprises.
Yeah, I think yeah, as you said, in a hackathon, like you get so passionate about your project that you want to do it all. You want to deliver like an app ready for the app store. it's not how it works. But yeah, I think we'll try to do that now. And I also forgot to say that actually we found one of the solutions for the SMS was through AWS. I don't actually know the specifics because I haven't been working on that, but there's some AWS people that have been really, really helpful, helping us set that up, and apparently it's all working now. So really, really exciting.
Yeah, it was great that AWS and Google have jumped in and given free credit and helping support getting these apps deployed. And I've seen other teams using new languages to them, like Go, and then trying to use real-time messages on AWS or Google. And I think that's really good that last minute those companies have stepped up unofficially just to kind of help out. I think that's great. And lots of people are asking for a link to your repo, so I'm just going to grab that. There is a front-end repo, is that correct?
If you see we've already we've already published our Medium blog post. Obviously, the demo is not there yet because we haven't finalized it, but I'm going to send you the link to this. It's already been published under, if I'm not mistaken, under the hackathon publication. Actually, I'm going to send you a new link. Don't use that one.
Okay, let me send that as well. I'm sharing quite a few because I think these are awesome.
It's the second one that I sent you.
Okay, I think that's good. So this post, yeah, you've got lots of information. You've got your team with all your social links. This is awesome. This is great. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Sorry.
So we're just missing the demo part, which we will add this evening after the presentations and everything. Hopefully, we'll have enough to show.
No, that's great, and it's really awesome to see that people are asking for a link to your repo and so forth, and then other people agreeing with that and saying second that, and I think that's just awesome. I love it. It's brilliant. We've got a question. That should be it, but not converting to link. My bad. Not sure what you mean, Azing. If you can rephrase that, it would be good. But any questions you have, do just ask in the chat. But it is it is awesome to see this, and I think there is a hackathon coming up in a few weeks because this one is UK versus COVID. Anyone can join around the world. It's not just restricted to UK, but that's what it's called. But there is a hackathon coming up in a few weeks called EU versus COVID, and I think, and again, anyone around the world can join it. They're not being restricted. I think it's just because the people sponsoring it are in the UK, or charities sponsoring it are in the UK. But what do you think? Will you be attending another hackathon soon? I think I asked you this yesterday, but I can't remember your answer.
Um, yeah, I think so. I think in these times of isolation and everything, you also have to be very, very aware or prioritize a lot your self-care. So I'm also coordinating a new like COVID citizen initiative in Costa Rica. So I'm the like of the web development coordinator. So that has been very tough and has to like I have a deadline for Wednesday and so many things to do. So for example, today, even though we're all very, very passionate about this project, a lot of us took like a few hours off, or I haven't actually started my hackathon workday until after this call. So we'll see. I think I want to get some issues like closed and finish with some stuff. I want to do like this AWS thing as well. And so many things that I want to do and learn that I want to make sure that I'm not burning out
Of course.
while working at home. But yeah, I would love to attend another hackathon. And this experience has been incredible. Like, even if it's all online, everybody has been so supportive, and it feels like we're an actual team that has known each other. So it's been quite fun.
That's so cool. That's so great to hear. I love that. I really do. I think it's important that I think the danger of being a remote hackathon is that some people in the team just think they got that get that hero mentality where they just get their head down. Look, I'll speak to you today, Saturday morning. We know what we're building. I'll speak to you the end of Sunday when 10 minutes before the deadline. I'll show you everything I've built. But then that's not how it works, because other teammates are waiting for your work. Or even if that person, the hero, which never works out. I don't want any heroes in my team. But if they work through the day, through the night, through the day, and build the most awesome thing ever, but doesn't integrate with anyone else's work, then again, it's pointless. So I think collaboration is massively key.
Yeah, and even you can explain something like a few times, and maybe some people still don't get it. Like, we've had a lot of like short catch-ups just to make sure that the back end is understanding what the front end wants, and vice versa, or what is possible to do from the back end in a front end perspective. So we've had to jump on calls, like ad hoc calls, for like half an hour to say like, but exactly what happens after this. And everybody has been like, yeah, let's jump on a call. Okay, let's explain this, like for the third or fourth or fifth time. And that's fine. Like, just as long as we all understand where we're trying to go, then it's worked out quite well.
Absolutely. And I think sometimes when someone explains something to you, it makes sense. But then when you go away to do it, you kind of get more questions, or you confuse yourself. I know I confuse myself all the time. And I have to come back and say, actually, can you kind of rephrase that again, like say it a different way, or now I've actually got this involved. How's it going? It's awesome to have Dheeraj here again. Thanks for joining. You join all the time. It's great to have your support. You didn't miss too much. We've been talking about the hackathon over the weekend, showing some code. There are some links further up in the chat to do have a look at those, and hopefully you can catch up. I know I see your message saying you sent me a link on Twitter. Is that for an open source project? I'll check that out tomorrow. Today we're more focusing on the hackathon from the weekend, and trying to encourage everybody who's watching to join a hackathon. And so that there's a hackathon, quite a few hackathons coming up, so you should definitely join one. And I'm quite keen to join one myself and live stream the entire weekend of it. So it'd be quite tiring, but I think it could be quite exciting and interesting. And hopefully when collaborating with the rest of the team, if I'm sharing some knowledge, or someone's sharing some knowledge with me and I'm learning, then everyone watching can also learn too, and also share their knowledge and their experience. So I'm hoping that way we can move a lot faster. And with the project being open source, I'm also hoping that other people might contribute, and if they only contribute a small piece, all those small pieces add up. And I think smaller contributions, I've always said this, but smaller contributions I think add more value. So let me know what you think. Like if someone who's watching says, oh, I can raise a pull request for you, I can do that, and they raise like, I don't know, a pull request with 1,000 line changes and, you know, in 20 different files, it's going to take you so much time to go through that you probably might just skip it, or you either some people either risk it and go, it kind of looks okay, accept, or the opposite. If you've been bitten before, I think, then you're more likely to say, actually, I'm sorry, this is too big, kind of ignore or close. Whereas if someone does 2-line change or 1, 2, 3-line change, you can the maintainer who's reviewing the pull request can immediately see that's perfect, exactly what I need, merged, done. I'd rather have 10 of those than the other way around. So I guess if people are watching, if you're in a team or you're contributing to just any random open source project, the smaller the pull request is, the better. And you're more likely to get more comments on a smaller pull request. But it's because they can review it more thoroughly. So don't let that kind of put you off if you get lots of comments. And I've had pull requests that have been rejected, or I've had comments where people say, can you change this, then I'll accept it. Or they've written, well, actually, I don't want to accept this pull request, not because it's necessarily bad, they say, or it's not in line with where I want to take my project. And that's fine. You still get the contribution on GitHub. You still get that green square to say you've done a contribution. And that's what I think is more important. Obviously, you don't want to kind of just do it just for the green square and contribute loads of rubbish. But if it's useful, then definitely contribute it. Actually, funny enough, one more story. I want to stop talking in a second and get back to the hackathon. But I've actually Googled for a problem I had on a library that I was using. I can't remember what the library was. And I came across someone submitting a pull request, and the project maintainer said, actually, I don't want to fix this because I don't want that functionality in to do that. But the pull request that someone submitted like a year before that had got closed allowed me to take what they've done and make it into what I wanted to do, which is similar, and have that in my code base. So that closed pull request really helped me. So if your pull request gets closed, I'm trying to say to people watching, if your pull request gets closed, don't let it put you off. Just keep contributing to open source. What do you think? Is that kind of good advice? What are your opinions from the hackathons that you have done?
Yeah, I think it's that as a contributor, that, let's say, that's not part of the team, it would be the same thing as a viewer part of the team. Like, you don't want to do a pull request, even me, part of the team, that is so huge that nobody understands what the point of it is, because then that's where kind of you get lost, or you can't pinpoint if there's any errors or if something doesn't make sense. So the more specific the task, that more beneficial it will be for everybody. So definitely, it's like getting the hang of doing commits all the time, which is something you learn.
Little and often, definitely. And you mentioned earlier on about issues. So how are you tracking, I guess, the pieces of work? Are you raising issues on GitHub? Are you using like one of the project boards on GitHub and moving them along from like a backlog into progress? How are you managing that?
No, so we just did like a team Trello board, and actually for backend we started using that a lot, but then at the end we just had like a chat, the three of us, and kept updating what it is that we had done and kept adding. So it wasn't very documented, I suppose, but it was only three of us, so it was quite easy to just say, okay, I've done that, you do this, you do that, and then we reconvene in an hour or so, and then yeah.
No, that makes sense. I think you've got to do what works with your team. I do like to raise issues, and even if it's just titles and there's no big description, but I think you've got to do what works and what works with the team, absolutely, just to keep moving that forward. You've got to move quickly, right, in a hackathon. You've only got usually 2 days. I think you've got 3 days, right? It finishes tonight?
Officially, I think it finished yesterday, and the presentations are tonight at 7. But but because the presentations are tonight at 7, then everybody's still kind of working, maybe not at the same pace, and some people don't have the same availability, which is fine. But yeah, I think it's good that it's more than one day. In one day, you feel very like worn out and very exhausted. It's still incredible. Like the adrenaline is really is awesome. But in a few, you're a little bit more comfortable saying like, I'm gonna go take a tea break. Just like I'll be back in an hour because I need to step away from the laptop. But yeah.
What one day is really hard, a one-day hackathon, I think, you spend kind of half the day thinking about the idea, getting into teams and thinking about the idea, etc. And then before you know it, it's time to stop again. So I think 2 days,
hours,
2 days makes sense. 3 days is ideal, but then you start, I think, burning out as well. So it's, like you said, it's important to take breaks and just keep the sanity.
Yeah, and also I'm just looking at the comments that you just posted there, and you can do anything in a hackathon. Like you can be in charge of organizing the team, you can be in charge of writing the blog, coordinating things. Like you don't have to be a techie to participate, and every little bit of contribution is really welcome. So anybody that wants to join should try it.
Absolutely. I think I mentioned yesterday, and I don't know if I mentioned it today, but I want to mention it anyway again, that the hackathons I have won is where the team has been a mixed skill set, where some people have been new to tech, some people not so new, some people weren't even in tech, and they just wanted to see what hackathon was about, and they joined. But the way they look at the problem and the challenge is so different to everybody else in the team, and that adds so much value. So I think it's just, hackathons are for everybody, hands down. Yeah. They're absolutely for everybody. And when so just tying into D-Raj's comment, how do you start a hackathon? So if the hackathon say starts at 9 o'clock in the morning, usually they spend like an hour talking about the challenges, about the different areas. So do you want to help with education? Do you want to help with, I'm trying to think of the challenges that you had in this hackathon. It was education and maybe, I don't know, with the food crisis or with safety. I've got that a bit wrong, but roughly.
Food justice, unemployment.
That's the one.
Local businesses and homelessness as well, I think.
So the hackathon organizers usually set out the challenges, and then people usually congregate, in this case virtually, in a Slack channel around the area that interests them the most. So if you've got challenge 1, 2, 3, 4, I might go, you know what, challenge 3 looks really interesting. It's what I'm passionate about. So I'll go to challenge 3, where however it's managed in the virtual world. And I'll go to that Slack channel, see who else has joined challenge 3, and then we usually start sharing what skills we have and what ideas we have. So I might say, well, because even when you go to a challenge, you might have 2, 3, 4, 5 teams splinter off from that, because a challenge can be solved so many different ways. It's very vague purposely, so people can use their creative kind of ideas and thinking on how they can solve that. And I'm guessing, is this what happened with the hackathon at the weekend as well with you? Is that how it worked?
Yeah, it was a bit different. We had a pre-hack meeting, kind of virtual meeting, I think last weekend, if I'm not mistaken. So the people that had the broad ideas, the big ideas, they presented and they said, so this is what we're looking for. These are the challenges. This is what we might want for a solution. So that was great, because we didn't have to spend the time this weekend trying to figure out what the challenges were or what the teams would be. So everybody joined. I joined all the Slack channels at the beginning because I just wanted to see where it was going and trying to figure out where I thought I would fit in best. So we had the pre-hack meeting, and then we had like a Google Sheet with all the ideas and the tools that would be required, and kind of like a brief concept of what we wanted to achieve. And everybody just signed up to the different teams, different projects, and even people that weren't part of these speakers that were introducing their ideas in the pre-hack, they could still put forward projects. Anybody can put forward a project and say, like, I'm already working in a solution for this charity. Can I just add it to the hackathon and see if anybody wants to help me? So yeah, it was quite good. And then in the morning, it was just a brief introduction, and then we just started. Yeah, we just started with our group having our team meeting.
Awesome. I think time is really really valuable. You need to kind of just keep it everything as short as possible and get moving forward. And I forget what I was going to say because I'm actually also looking at the EU versus virus hackathon coming up in a few weeks, and I will share the link about that. I'm not associated to them, but I'm hoping that I can spend that weekend and take part in the hackathon and live stream it, and hopefully I'll see some of you there as well. But I'll share that shortly. And yeah, just to kind of continue. So you talked about how it's really good that you got together you formed your teams kind of beforehand, at least started the discussions, those ideas. And obviously every team is at a different speed. So some formed probably a lot sooner, some formed a bit later. And even I'm sure teams pivoted over the weekend. So whatever idea they started with on Saturday morning, that they probably pivoted a few couple of times. I mean, some teams pivot more than others, and it adds risk. But then sometimes it's better. It depends on how it's going and who from the team continues. Because I think it's quite often that one person out of the team ends up changing teams, or something comes up personally in their life. They say, actually, I can't continue this anymore. And so I think it's always important to be agile and do little and often and just adapt to the current situation. And then usually like an hour before the demos are due of the teams, the organizers of the hackathon request that the like presentational slides are given to them beforehand, so they can just put them in order and get those ready. And so many times I've seen, and myself included, have left the slides and the planning of the presentation to like 10 minutes before the deadline, and no matter how great the project is, it never works out well. And again, this is where it's really good to have people who aren't focusing on the code side, because from the second day, say from the Sunday in this case, they can start planning at least the headlines of the presentation. Go, right, we need an introduction. What was our challenge? Right, we'll tell a story here. Right, now this is how we're going to solve it, and then this is what we ended up with. And because you've got to take the judges or the people watching on the journey with you, and you've got to cram your 2 days, 3 days, however long the hackathon is, you've got to cram it into, I mean, how long have you got for your demos? I'm guessing about 5 minutes.
I have no idea, but yeah, I suppose it's something like that, 5-10 minutes tops. I think it's only 16s at the end, so it's not that many presentations.
Yeah, from past experience, I think it's usually about 5 minutes, because they need 5 minutes kind of switch overs to the next team. So and you'll have some Q&A actually. So usually I think they allow 15 minutes per team, but you don't get to talk 15 minutes. I think you get 5 minutes demo and take the people on the journey, and then you might have 5 minutes Q&A where the judges or the organizers can dig a bit deeper, and then 5 minutes to kind of switch over to the next team. So, and it goes so fast. I mean, 5 minute presentation, I'm sure a lot of people are going, that's so long. Trust me, 5 minutes will go like that. It will go very fast, but the presentation is key. So yes, the presentations tonight are on at 7 p.m. and I will share a link to the Women Driven Development website. I shared it yesterday, but I will share it again today. So if people do want to watch that, they can. It won't be on my channel, but they can watch that. And I'm also going to share a link to the hackathon end of the month as well. This is, like I said, the EU hack, but everyone, my understanding, everyone is welcome. Amadine asks, what I don't like to see at hackathons is people joining a team, and if things don't go 100% the way they want, they disappear without a word for their teammates and leave them hanging. It's true. I've seen that a lot, and I think that is really painful, because a lot of people do throw their toys out the pram if they don't use the technology they want. They don't do the ideas that they've come up with, and I think it's give and take at hackathons, and that's why a lot of companies like Starling Bank, I know, hire from hackathons, because if people are hungry, tired, stressed, and they can work well with other people, then when you put them in a good condition, in a good situation where it's not so stressful, that they're going to do really well. So you kind of see them at their worst. And I think that's really important. I always say to my clients, go to a hackathon and hire people from there, because you can really see what they're like. And it's not, and some of my clients say, oh, but I won't see their best code because it's a hackathon. I was like, code can be taught. It's the attitude that kind of can't be. You need to get someone with the right attitude, that they can collaborate and give and take. And they aren't always, I mean, just building on from what Amadine says, I don't like it also when people like bulldozer, is that the right word? Like kind of dominate the entire team and just say, look, we're doing it my way. If you don't like it, kind of leave. And I think that's really wrong too.
Definitely. So I actually also took part of UN Women UK Violence Against Women and Girls hackathon recently, and we had something similar. Somebody from our team just left in the middle of the day. It was a one-day hackathon, so it was quite hard to get a real solution out. But somebody just left in the middle of the day because they didn't feel they were contributing, or basically, like you said, maybe we weren't applying the solutions that they were suggesting. But I think it's really hard to create that team bond and that synergy. It's quite hard because you don't know people's personalities. You don't know what their strengths and weaknesses are. It's not the same as working with your team at work. But if you can get through this, at the end of the day, well, all the hackathons that I've attended have been for like a social cause. So you're there for the cause. You're not there for the price, let's say, at least in the ones that I've been there, right? You're there because you want to create something that is beneficial to everybody else. So as long as you have like your eyes in that prize, that is that the cause itself, you should be able to work together with everybody and understand the common goal is to create a solution that will benefit people's lives, and it's not about you. So I think that really helps, just taking in everybody's opinion and being, at least in the ones that I've attended, it's not about winning, right? It's not about what you can achieve, or it's about what we can achieve as a team. And it just makes it very enjoyable to work with people like that.
I think that's such a good point. You're right. It's doing something collectively, and you'll go so much faster working together with the team. I know the people who think they can do much better on their own, it's that hero mentality. And I know that I always tell my clients never to hire those people, because that's not what you want. And I find it really weird when my clients say, oh, this person's amazing, they're our hero, and I want 10 of them. And I'm like thinking, that's the worst thing you could want. You don't want 10 of them, trust me. You want 9 other people that do it completely differently, think completely differently, have different backgrounds, different whatever, because that's where the value comes. And some people have to learn the hard way, and some people kind of realize straight away, and that's important. But you're right, working together as a team is where you can pick up a lot of speed and a lot of skills, and share what you know, which I always find when I share what I know, it's a great way for me to learn as well, because people might improve it or question it and make me think about it slightly differently. And then when I'm learning from them, I love asking questions back, not to try and prove them wrong, don't get me wrong, but to like dig a bit deeper and say, oh, can you give me an example of that, because I didn't quite get it, or whatever it is. And I love seeing that. I love seeing how different technologies solve similar problems as well. So when I go to hackathon, sometimes I use the technologies that I know, and sometimes I use technologies that I don't know purposely to either learn that new technology or to just see how they do it. And there's nothing wrong with pairing with people at the hackathon. Actually, in this hackathon, have you done much pairing, or has it been more just checking in every now and then?
We haven't done that much pairing, but I actually wanted to mention that because Michelle, who has more experience with Ruby, said, let's try to do this, and I have to do something similar, so if you can't figure it out, we can do it together. We can just pair and solve it together. At the end, we didn't need to do that, but when she said that, I was like, oh, thank you. That makes me feel so much better, because sometimes you do feel some pressure, like, oh, I have to do this, and I'm not sure if I'm gonna do it right, or I'm gonna break everything. But just having those little comments and like that support makes you feel a lot more empowered to be in the team. But also, before I suppose we finish off, I also wanted to say, for me, these like hackathons and women in tech events and all of this really allows me to stay passionate about coding, because sometimes as in every job, not only in the tech sector, your days can be like a week of so much work. You have so much to do, and so the adrenaline, and you're super motivated and everything. And then maybe there's weeks where it's a bit slower, especially if you're, we don't like the word, but a junior developer. That's not solving crises all the time. So when work can be a little bit slower, or especially in isolation periods and things like that, when it's not, you're not talking to people and you're not also just chatting in the office, I feel like these type of events really get me back into feeling very motivated and very happy and proud that I'm part of this community. So yeah, I would just say just go for it. Attend events, attend meetups, hackathons, whatever you can, because it really makes you feel that you belong, and it helps you stay motivated and saying like, I can do this. I can become an excellent software engineer, no matter how long it takes me to get to wherever you need to get. It really helps. Sometimes work is not enough to keep you motivated and engaged and just like excited about coding.
I love that. You're right. Work isn't enough, because work, you get given things that you don't always find so interesting, could be boring, or whatever the reason is. So being involved in the community, going to events virtually or physically, attending hackathons, I think is what definitely keeps that motivation going. For me, it's the live streams and the comments. I love it when I live stream and I just get loads of questions or comments or suggestions or whatever it is. For me, that's what encourages me to kind of do more, and I can't wait for my live stream the following day, because then I'm really excited to see what other comments and what other people join. I know every day the same people can't join. They've got their own family, work, different time zones, like a whole raft of variables. But when they do join, I love it when just the conversation is slightly different and you get different perspectives, and that's the beauty of the community. And hopefully, by me having these live streams and bringing different guests on and sharing my adventures in tech, hopefully that encourages other people. But you're right, time is running short. I do like to start at 1 on the dot and finish at 2 on the dot as well. I will be here again at 1 p.m. Tomorrow, same time, same place. And if you want to come and if everyone wants to come and join and chat again, ask your questions. And look at the hackathon links that I shared, or link. If I find any more hackathons, I will share those. If you find any more, don't forget to send them to me on Twitter, or put a comment after the stream has finished. And I'll definitely have a look and see which exciting events are coming up, and look forward to geeking out and hacking with everybody. So I see lots of big thank yous for you in the chat. Thank you so much for joining me on this live stream. I know you're working to your deadline today. All the best. Really look forward to seeing how it looks at 7 o'clock. I know you're going to do amazing. I'm really excited to see how it all comes together, and look forward to chatting with you again in the future. But I'm sure I'll see you soon and chat to you soon, and let us all know what you're doing hackathon wise coming up. Underneath you can see the Twitter handle, so do follow along so you can see what hackathons are coming up. Thank you again. Have a great day. I'm going to get my next kind of holding slide up, and yes, have a great day. Good luck with everything, and we'll see you all soon.
Thank you. Bye.